Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Hey guys, thanks for going on this nerd journey with me. If you want your episodes ad-free, go to makemeanerd.com/join and hit that button.
Hooked on you, baby, you're golden. Time moves, I never noticed. Just can't get enough. Got me wonderstruck.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Make Me a Nerd. I'm Mandy Kaplan, a mainstream mom whose mission it is to explore all things nerd culture that I've been missing out on and pretty afraid of my whole life. I'm very excited to welcome a member of the TruStory FM family. He is a frequent collaborator on the film podcasts there, and he is also a former high school teacher, and he loves to analyze movies the same way he analyzes books. And a little fun fact about him, he worked in a video store in high school, and that's where he fell in love with film. Please welcome to the podcast, Steve Sarmento.
Hello.
Hi, you made me beg to get you on this podcast, and I deeply resent it.
It was about finding the right thing. I'm a perfectionist, and when you want me to talk about something, I want to speak knowledgeably about it. As a former teacher, I don't want to get up and start talking about something that someone else is going to correct me on.
I do it every week.
Oh,
Every week. In fact, I got a correction about K-pop Demon Hunters because I had a touch of an issue with the fact that the girl characters were so skinny. Have you seen K-pop Demon Hunters?
Yes.
And, I just wish there were more representation of all different body types for young people to see. And my guest is a K-pop fanatic, Jimmy Aquino, the wonderful Jimmy Aquino. And he just, I think, was like, yeah, it was great. No worries about that. Just because he loves this film and loves K-pop.
Yes.
And someone wrote in and said that they actually debated that, and they were trying to make a statement about K-pop being too their expectations of bodies being too high and being like, that's a thing about K-pop, and they were trying to point that out by making these girls so skinny and making all the boys so physically perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for writing in and letting me know that, and I'm often wrong, Steve, so no worries.
Okay. Thank you. The pressure's
So
on.
what kind of nerd are you? You're a self-proclaimed nerd, yes?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm nerdy about all kinds of things, but one of the things I'm really nerdy about is science fiction, and that goes back to being when I was really young. And probably the first thing I can point back to is, because I'm really old, in this early 70s, I remember my dad waking me up in the middle of the night to walk me outside and show me, and this was when the Russian satellite and the American satellite connected in space, and there was a little handshake across, and they parted ways, and we could see those two little lights up in the sky, and they came together, and they came apart, and then just from that day on, I was just fascinated with the fact that there were people that could be traveling in outer space and what was going on out there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so this movie must be very high on your list. Near and dear.
Yes. Well, so I saw this as a kid when it first came out in theaters. So Closer Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977. And seeing that as a young, impressionable kid just really, really marked me. I say this is a movie that marked itself on my heart and in my soul, because there were so many things as a young kid I could relate to. There was this gritty realism to the movie that, I mean, I remember watching, and there's the scene early on when all the toys start to come to life in Barry's room, and the record player and the plastic number 3 block that's on there. I had those when I was a kid, and I'm like, this is a kid like me. He's got the same toys I do. This could happen to me.
Yes.
And as a kid, kids' movies are all about, talking animals and all these things. But here was one that was like, oh, this is a kid like me. And looking at the family, Roy, as a young dad, and his wife, and Ronnie, and my parents didn't fight like that, but they were about the same age as my parents. It felt like I was like, oh, there's so many relatable things. This could be the
Right.
family next door. And so that, combined with my love for science fiction, just, oh my gosh, this movie just like impressed itself on me so much.
Right. Those are our connecting characters. It's a little, to me, when I turn something on and the first images I see are wacky aliens with 3 heads,
Mm-hmm.
well, I can't really relate. But seeing people just like us and having the worlds collide is, it really allows us to connect
Yes.
emotionally and intellectually. It buys us in a great
Yeah.
way.
And there's no like big bad guy or something like that to this. You're just going on a journey with these characters, and that was something else. It wasn't about the big climactic battle or something like in Star Wars or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just this dad struggling with things and this larger conspiracy going on. And as a young kid, I thought, oh, I've not seen a story like this. This isn't about good guys versus the bad guys and the good guys win.
Mhm.
It's just a guy trying to, this means something, as
Yeah.
he says so often, and trying to make sense of that. And as a young kid, like trying to make sense of the world, I thought, yeah, I can relate to that. Like, I'm seeing things, but how does this world make sense to me? And seeing an adult struggle with that, of like, I'm trying to make sense of my world. I'm trying to hold it all together. And I thought, oh, okay. Adults don't always have all of the answers. And there's things
Right.
that they grapple with that they don't know the answers
Wait,
to.
can you not tell my son that, though?
Well,
Shh, 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 shh,
between
shh,
us.
shh.
But
Right.
now as a parent, I'm like, again, resonating with this film on another level of like, yeah, that's the reality. No, there's no perfect family. You have to figure stuff out. Sometimes you're making it up, and sometimes you make bad decisions, and you just
Right.
have to live with that.
You mentioned the toys, and
Yes.
when they start to come to life in Barry's room, when Casey was little, really little, he had motion activated toys. So I would get
Oh,
up to go to the bathroom and walk by, and it would be like, "Hi, do you want to spell today?" And it would freak me the fuck out. Did you
yes.
have those for your kids?
No, I was a parent that liked to give my kids books because I'm a nerd. Uh,
Yeah, I wouldn't let Casey read.
okay, there we
It's
go.
important to
No,
me that he remain
no,
illiterate.
no, we did have one, and it traumatized us. So we put it. We had a Furby.
Right.
There was a Furby in one of the kids' rooms,
Oh,
and you walk by, and that voice. It wasn't like "Do you want to spell?" It was whatever foreign gobbledygook language those
Mm.
things would speak, and then the ears moving and making noise. And we're like, no, this is going in the closet.
Yeah.
Just
And they
take
look
the
like
batteries out.
gremlins or
Done.
like
Yes.
Gizmo. Like, that's not okay.
Right. No, it's
Well,
not a toy. It's a demon.
well, one thing I noticed when those toys were coming to life and it was creepy, I thought, I wonder if the makers of Toy Story used this scene for any inspiration. I don't know the
Oh,
answer, but
wow.
it started me as I watched this movie on a journey of connecting the dots to so many movies
Mhm.
that I think borrowed from this or homaged this or,
Mhm.
that were inspired by. It's not a bad thing. It's only positive. But seeing all the toys like do their thing around the room, come on. Pixar had to see that and think, huh,
Oh, absolutely. There's so many iconic moments in this film that it's one of those films where people will say, "Oh, there was this great movie moment in this film." And I think, yeah, okay, Spielberg did that in Close Encounters. There's
mm-hmm,
so many just iconic moments. This is a filmmaker, still early in his career, but all his
very
trademark elements are there. I mean,
right.
Barry opening the door and just the bright orange light and silhouetting him, that whole scene is such an iconic moment of everything, the vacuum cleaner going, the chaos in the kitchen. There's those iconic moments, the
Well,
tones, there's so many things I look at and say, I've seen this borrowed, I've seen this stolen,
right.
or It's
Right.
just, there's no
And,
better
and
way that I could think
Spielberg
of.
is borrowing from himself.
Yes,
And one of the things
exactly.
is his use of silence. And I know we talked about this when we saw Jurassic Ass or whatever it was. And right there,
Yes,
and there was wall to wall music. But
right.
he and now I've since seen the original Jurassic Park and I've seen Jaws. And I love when he lets a scene be silent. It is
Yes.
so tense. And when Dreyfus first, so like the mailboxes are shaking and he's in the
Mhm.
truck and he's something is really wrong, it's silent. If I got that correct.
Yes.
And
Oh, it is. Yeah.
it's a great choice. And I love that Spielberg is like, "Hey, if it ain't broke, I'll use it in, in all of these movies," because it really is very effective.
It's letting the image tell the story. It's letting the listener draw the conclusions instead of musical, stings or themes move you emotionally. It's letting the image and the characters, letting what's happening to them work on your emotions or your
Mhm.
feelings, or allowing your eye to pay attention to things. And I think of, again, Roy in the truck, and there's that great setup of he stopped looking at the map and the car pulls up behind him and he waves it around, and then later on he stopped again and lights come up behind him and then he waves at them, and then the lights slowly just
Mhm.
rise up out of frame. And there's no musical cue to tell us something ominous and spooky is happening or anything like that. It's just you have to be paying attention to what's in frame to even notice that, because you could be paying attention to Roy, looking at his map and trying to figure out the way to cornbread or wherever he's going. And the silence allows us to be focused on those things.
Yeah. Yeah. He he's a brilliant filmmaker.
Yes.
And and I think he captured so much humanity in this movie, this family. I don't know how they were before Roy starts to lose his mind, but it
Right.
seems like they were not so happy because of the way she snaps. She just there's no concern from her about like, I'm worried about your mental health. Are you
Right.
okay? It is instant rage. So I'm interested in a prequel where we watch, him, whatever he's doing, dicking
Right.
around and not paying attention to his family that annoys her so much that she has had it. So this movie starts with her with like her bags packed.
Well, we get that a little bit in the beginning when I think it's, the first scene with the Neary family is they're in the room and Roy is playing with his trains, and you've got the one son in the baby playpen with the doll and is just banging it.
Yeah.
And it creates that noise that just creates tension in the scene
Yeah.
because it's just bang, bang, bang through the background as Roy is playing with his trains. And then he's got the son that's trying to get help with homework. And, there's all the things. And there's just the chaos of the family. We get that from the first moment that there's not good communication going on. They're sort of all isolating themselves from each other.
Hmm.
And then Roy's disconnect even of, hey, kids, you want to go see Pinocchio or Goofy Golf,
Right.
those types of things. And it sets Roy up as this a bit of a dreamer, right? The childhood should be simple and fantastical and all of those things that, Pinocchio represents for him. But the kids just want Goofy Golf, which is a lot of pushing and shoving and waiting around and not
Right.
having
But
a
you
good
say
time.
dreamer, but I hear a bit selfish. Like he wants what he
Oh,
wants. And
oh, absolutely.
because he says, like, you have two choices, this amazing thing or
Yeah,
this crappy thing. And it's
right.
like, Roy, lock it up and listen to your children and your wife.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
Spielberg has said that, the point in his life when he made this movie, he was young, he wasn't married, he didn't have kids, and he said that he would not have made this story this way now that he's married and has kids. He would not tell the story of a character like Roy. That's not the type of father he aspired to be
Hmm.
or even is. So but I think a lot of it is informed back by, and a lot of his films are informed by his own childhood, his parents divorced, all of that. Dad was out of the picture. So I think there was a little bit of animosity of like, oh, my dad left us.
Hmm.
And that's something I'm used to. So there's a story where a dad is disconnected from his family. It is the one thing I struggle with of where he's not really heroic. Like he's not being a
No.
great dad at all. And I wondered if some of this, um, again, I'm going to analyze themes. I think of that moment when he's locked himself in the bathroom with the shower
Mhm.
running. He's losing his mind. He doesn't
Yes.
know what's going on. He just wants a hug from his wife. Just, Ronnie, just hold me. Just hold me. And I'm wondering how much of that is sort of representing the PTSD that some of the veterans coming back from Vietnam were feeling
Mm.
of like, my world doesn't make sense. I just need somebody to take care of me, but I've got to be a parent
Mhm.
to these kids and a husband to this wife, his son that's like slamming the door, calling him a big crybaby and all
Yep.
that. If he's not being the typical like macho man dad that his son wants. And it's not anything I even noticed as a kid, but as an adult now watching this, I'm thinking, oh, is that really speaking to this generation of baby boomers of you guys you're dealing with some really serious stuff, and that's the reality of the world, and putting that on the screen of here's a character maybe you will identify with
Yeah. But
in a
it's
way.
interesting, and I'm not making light of it, but as a wife and a mom, I I was so disgusted by just give
Hmm.
me a hug, just give me a hug, just hug me,
Yeah.
just hold me. It's like,
Yeah.
why don't you take a minute and care about your family? And
Oh,
then maybe
yeah.
I'll give you a hug. But
Yeah.
Roy from Jump was just on his own
Oh,
journey.
yeah.
I mean, it all makes sense. It's great character development. It's
She
not like
calls
he
him
took
out
this.
on that
Yeah.
when the first time they have what the UFOs come flying by, where then that sort of curved stretch of road where everybody's camped out, and then he takes
Hmm.
her back there and there's nothing there, and she
Right.
says, don't you kind of think I'm taking this kind of well?
Hmm.
Like, hey, you need to recognize I'm here and
Right.
I'm trying to support you. Like,
Hmm.
you wake me up in the middle of the night, come
4 in
out
the
to look at
morning. Yeah.
nothing,
Right.
and you're not even thinking like, how do I feel about this? So yeah, I think it is said, the story makes complete sense for her to take those kids, go to her sister. Yeah, she probably should have done it a long time ago from the way
Hell
that was
yeah.
acting. Yeah.
Fuck you, Roy. So when Barry opens the door and takes off in the night,
Yes.
I wrote weapons. Have you seen Weapons? Please say it. You've seen Weapons?
I've not seen Weapons yet.
Oh,
I have not.
Steve.
It's on my list. I'm not a big horror person,
It's not,
but it is on my
you can,
list.
yeah, you'll love it. It's not
Okay.
the kind of horror that I think you're thinking. It is
But
so eerie and great.
I
Um,
was wondering what you as a mom, how that whole dynamic played of, watching a young kid who's like 4 or 5 or whatever, just like take off outside running. How traumatizing
well,
is
after
that?
I got over the deep connection to weapons, uh, my reaction was, of course, that would be traumatizing. And then the mom from Christmas Story
Hmm.
um, doesn't really seem focused enough on finding her child. Once the
No.
movie gets going, she's on a little adventure and she's
Yes.
curious about the aliens
Right.
and she's potentially hot for Roy, who ends up kissing her, which was such a weird moment.
Yes.
And every scene she's in, and it's not the actress's fault. I think Melinda Dillon is a great actress. But she mentioned her son like twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want every scene to be about, I don't care about government. I don't care about aliens. I want my son. Where is my son? I need to find my
Hmm.
son. And
Right.
that was just lacking for me.
It's tricky, I think, because we've got to, in the story, we've got to get a sense of this obsessive compulsive behavior that anybody that's had these encounters have had that show up there. Something's got to drive them. And then the complexity of having to balance that with concern for Barry. Again, as a kid, didn't think about it like, great, I'm
Mhm.
following these
Of
adults on
course.
this adventure.
Right.
Aliens, cool stuff. But as a parent, I'm like, these are not, these are horrible parents. Like,
Yes.
as you point out, yeah, your kid disappeared. Even if you know the UFOs took him, like, hello, Air Force, can you shoot these things? I mean, I need my kid back. And
Yeah.
you're right. There's no mention of them. There's the scene where the sort of the conference room where right before that, where she tells Roy, like, they took him. And that's it. And then we don't see her until I think she's in the hotel room doing all her sketching. We don't know where she is, but clearly she's spending more time sketching, than looking for her son.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting the way you phrased it. because maybe there was an element that is implied that once you have had an encounter, not of the third kind yet, because I looked it up, and the first kind is thinking you saw a UFO, the second is having proof of a UFO, and the third is an alien encounter.
Yes.
You're welcome. But when you have a close encounter of the first kind, maybe you are then somewhat brainwashed. I know they immediately they have a compulsion to draw the mountain and try to find the mountain, but maybe part of that is you forget your responsibilities to your family and you lose sight of
Yeah.
other things.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how they would justify it. Believe me, I don't want 2 hours and 17 minutes of an actress going, I just want my son back. It would get old,
Right. Yes.
So
Yeah.
I understand letting it go a bit, but it's tough to buy as a mom.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. That she'd be more interested in the aliens than her son. So I want to ask you, the version I was watching, you told me to watch the director's cut.
Yes.
Is it restored? The colors were so stunning, or did it look like that in 1977?
It
Do you know?
looked, as far as I know, it looked like that. I
Wow.
think it's just the 35 millimeter, in really good print, and so much. This may be part of it. So I watched a little bit of the sort of making of and all of
Mhm.
that. And one of the things that they did is they were aware of, the limits of visual effects. And when you shoot something and then you're going to do something and make a copy of that print, whatever, the picture quality degrades.
Yeah.
So what they did was, for some of those scenes, like where they're on that curved edge of the road, and then there's, like, you can see off the edge, and then there's all the distant horizon, all and the ships and all that.
Mhm.
So they had to shoot that. They matted the lens off or something, so the film on the first exposure would get this piece, and then they would go take that same film through to then put in the UFOs. So
Like double
basically,
exposures?
yes. So they were doing multiple exposures, matting off parts of it so it wouldn't be exposed to the
Right.
element that needed to be there. So the final version is all first generation images versus like first, second, third, where your quality degrades. So they were very aware of that. So that may be why you feel that the image quality and so much of
The colors were so
yes.
rich and saturated.
Uh-huh.
But something
Yes.
very similar happened on the Golden Girls, Steve. They found an old camera and they developed the film, and it made it seem like
Yeah.
Blanche's, or that Rose's dead husband had an affair with Blanche. And then they figured out double exposure.
Double exposure. There you go.
Mystery solved.
Yeah.
Now, that came after this movie, so I won't
Yes.
accuse Spielberg of stealing that
Stealing.
technique or that technical knowledge. I love smart kids in movies. Barry's a bit of a dumbass. Like, he just wanders out into the night by himself, and he never really does or says anything. He's a bit of a dumbass. I'll call it out.
He's a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's some great stories about the actor and the tricks that Spielberg used, because they basically a lot of his stuff is just first take, because working with kids. And so the things that Spielberg, and this is what makes Spielberg so great, he has this understanding of kids. And so the scene when, like, Barry is looking out the window and the ships are out there, and he looks and he says, toys. Spielberg basically needed Barry's attention. The actor, I think his name's Carey. So Spielberg got on a ladder and he had a box and he said, I've got stuff in here for you. So he's just up there looking. And then as Spielberg slowly lifts out the things, you see this child's face react to that. And in that case, it was like different toys. And so he would just use that natural curiosity of the child to stage events when it's the aliens have snuck into the house and have, rummaged through the kitchen and all of that. And you see the reaction. We don't see the aliens. We see the reaction. Spielberg had dressed up, I think one of the hair and makeup people and another one of the set crew that the kid knew, and had dressed them up, one as a gorilla and one as a clown. So when he walked in there, he was startled by them, but then he had them remove the mask so that they could reveal themselves as somebody he knew. And that's when you get the smile of recognition of oh, this isn't something scary. It's these little
Wow.
tricks to working with kids that are just, think about that. It's here's somebody that understands kids. And that's how you can
Yep.
get a really impressive performance out of a 4-year-old
Right.
at the time. And so may not be the smartest kid, but you get authentic performance out of that.
Character.
Yes.
I'm not criticizing the young actor.
No. Yes. But I think it's you get authenticity out
Right.
of that.
Yeah.
Which I think is the other strength. Again, as a 7-year-old watching that, it's yeah, this feels like a real kid. This is how I would behave. Are those things. And the story is so simple. That's the other thing I think that really appealed to me is it's an unconventional story. The whole beginning is we just get thrown into the desert with these mysterious planes showing up. We don't get any of the characters for a little while. We're getting this mystery. And then when we do get characters again, we're in Indiana with something that's totally disconnected. How am I supposed to connect these dots?
Well, I'm glad you thought it was simple because I was hella confused by the parallel stories.
Okay.
And when they finally came together, I was still pretty confused. And I'm just going to be honest with you because there was so much lingo that they threw in and so much,
Yes.
TK421, why aren't you your post stuff? Thank you. But you keep mentioning that you saw it when you were 7. Apple TV says it's for ages 8 and up.
Yeah.
Were you scared as a kid? Because I think I would have been terrified, and I don't think I know Casey would not have been able to handle it at that age.
No, but that's because it was an area of interest for me.
Okay.
I was fascinated with aliens at that point, and astronomy and all of those things. So wasn't anything that was foreign to me. If you had just sprung this on me, if it was an area that I wasn't interested in,
If
probably
it was
would have
like
been
a jungle story with
Yeah.
predators and animals, or
it would have been terrifying.
Yeah.
But it was an area of interest. So I'd heard of
Okay.
Project Blue Book, which was the Air Force study into UFOs and things like that. I had a couple very, some basic kids books about, because in the 70s, aliens was a hot thing still. So it was very much in the culture.
It still is today.
At the time. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Do you watch, oh God, well, I'm not going to, there's a History Channel thing that my husband
I don't watch
loves, and
History
it's
Channel
all
thing.
about aliens.
Aliens and UFOs and
he loves all that.
Ancient astronauts, all of that. So
He
that's
loves
why
it.
it wasn't scary, because to me, and again, I think Spielberg presented, looking at it now, I do see that
A kidnapped kid,
yes,
or a kid who disappears in the night.
it disappears, and all
family
the things that happen in the house, all the screws coming up by themselves. All of those things in a different context are terrifying things. The shot down the chimney as she's grappling for the flue to shut that, and there's just so much tension there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm amazed I wasn't terrified of this movie, but I think it was the context of, the aliens aren't bad guys. They're just different people from a different place. So
yeah. And this is a very deep cut reference, and it's really just for you and me. You were a part of the Film Board podcast when we did Y2K, were you not?
Yes, I was.
When the toys come to life?
Yes.
Boom. Further reach of Close Encounters.
Yes. No, absolutely.
For that, Spielberg should sue. But that was not a good movie.
No, it was not.
There is something about this movie, because these characters have to read the newspaper, make phone calls, and physically drive places to get information that they want. I've sadly thought, could you make this today?
Oh.
When all the characters could simply Google, FaceTime, text, all the mystery and suspense and what are they going to do, I think would be zapped out of it if they tried today.
Oh, yeah. There's so much work that they have. And it creates that sense of time, even of the number of articles Roy has. It's not like he just, one day I printed off, 100 articles. It's finding newspapers, magazine articles, collecting that over time is going to take a couple weeks. So it gives us the sense that this isn't just a weekend fascination of I'm something happened, I'm going to read up on
Go
everything.
down a little rabbit hole for a night. Yeah.
Right. This is something that, so it gives us that sense of time. But you're right. There would be so many ways that people would reach out online, chat forums, whatever, like, what's going on? Oh, that government, toxic spill, that's a hoax. Here's these real pictures. I flew my drone over there. They're not really doing anything. Yeah. It wouldn't work. It would have to be a very different way to tell this story. But it was that era, again, of the 70s, right after Watergate, mistrust of the government, conspiracies, all of that. But it's amazing how 50 years ago, it seems like such simpler times, even the technology of just, you've got people like, oh, just put on a gas mask. That's all you need to do. Toxic spill. We just got these good old like surplus army gas masks we're going to hand out, and you can just drive your car around.
But I'm so confused by the nerve gas and the masks.
Yeah.
Was it true, or was it government lies that there was a reason for them? Because he takes it off and he's fine.
Right. So that was something that puzzled me when I watched it. Yeah, I was 7. Even, I think the next time
we just learned about my intellectual level. Got it.
Right there. But no, I think that's one of the pieces in the story. It leaves it is, what did they really do? And the only thing that I can, there's one moment. So when they get caught in the car, when they come around, and then there's everybody in the white, biohazard suits or whatever, and they capture them or whatever. And the guy, leans into the car to get the birds.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen carefully, and I may be making this up to rationalize things, but because you see, the Melinda Dillon's character check the birds and they're fine because they're supposed to, sort of be like the canary in the coal mine, tell you if things are bad around you, the birds will go first. And she's checked the birds and they're fine. And then when the guy goes into the car, I swear you can hear a little as if he's spraying something. And then, because when he comes out, you see the birds are down, like dead, asleep, or whatever. So I think there's a conspiracy. I don't know what they would have done to those animals if they killed those animals, if they gave them some type of, knockout gas or something to just render them unconscious.
Well, what about all the animals that I firmly believe were napping on the side of the road?
That's just the thing.
Sleeping.
I was thinking they were sleeping too, especially because I think there was a point later on where they talked about they were going to dust the mountain when they were up there. They're like, oh, we'll send the helicopter. We've been having enough trouble with these ranchers already. So I think they may have, done something similar to knock out the cattle, because that's what they use on the 3 of them. Poor Larry, the straggler, gets knocked out by what they're sort of crop dusting with the mountain. So I've always just sort of assumed they did something similar just across the plains there to knock out any of the animals, because I think he said, oh, they'll be knocked out for like 6 hours and wake up with a terrible headache. So I've always said, no, they wouldn't kill all those animals. They are all definitely taking a nap.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Why did Larry say Los Angeles when they were crop dusting?
I don't know. I'm assuming
really
something of the era, something political, rebel. I don't know. Just, he's fighting for LA. I don't know. Represent.
So strange.
Yes.
Okay, so I asked you if you could explain the nerve gas of it all to me, and you did. Now, do you have knowledge of whether or not this was based on a true story or articles or what? Because I got both answers.
So
thank you, Google.
Right. So in the behind the scenes documentary and another interview with Spielberg, I think he said something at the time he made this, with everything that was going on, the mistrust in the government, the high number of UFO sightings, he really believed that, these were things that were happening. There were, alien visitors, all of those things. This was not based on any one single event, but he sort of wove together public interest, and speculation on these things are happening, and we don't trust the government. They're hiding something from us. And since the government had been investigating UFO sightings through Project Blue Book, but we're not making any of those findings available, people started speculating, they found some things Clearly there must be some larger conspiracy.
Yeah.
And the one of the lead investigators of Project Blue Book started out as a skeptic, and then by the time they ended that project, he said that there were many of those cases that he could not really find a plausible answer for them.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not saying they're aliens, but there were
Mm-hmm.
sightings of things that could not be explained. And he's actually in the scene near the end when the ship is there and everybody's, there at the landing strip and all that. He's the gentleman that walks up with the pipe.
Oh.
He was actually one of the actual Project Blue Book
Oh,
investigators. And
they gave
Spielberg
him a cameo?
gave him a little cameo in there because, it was his work that really motivated Spielberg regarding
Right.
this story, that this is plausible type of thing. So and again, as a small child at that point in my life, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. This makes
Yeah.
sense that there would be these things. And I so much wanted to believe that would happen, that was possible. But again, I think you'll find some fringe people saying, oh yeah, totally. Just like, Kubrick, faked the moon landing, all of those things.
Sure.
Magic of Hollywood and the special effects looking so good. Clearly it was, inspired by actual things, but, no, it's just great Hollywood filmmaking as far as I can tell.
Well, it's interesting because it sounds like you believed, or maybe still do, and I'm going to get there, in government conspiracies to hide the truth because you so want to believe there is life outside of our planet.
Yes.
And I am obsessed with government conspiracies because I am a suspicious skeptic who
Mhm.
thinks they're all out to get us. And I could talk about JFK for hours. But where do you stand in general about the whole the conspiracies? You say that word and I'm in, whatever it is. Oh, I read a book about this potential conspiracy. Yep, I want to read it. Whatever it is. I love it.
It's tough. It is tough. So speaking of conspiracies and aliens, I mean, if you're an X-Files fan,
Never seen it.
Oh, never seen the X-Files. Okay. Another one that's really, the government hiding things. And someone asked David Duchovny, what his thoughts were about that. And he
Mhm.
said, people are people and people love to share secrets. He said, with the size of our government, either there are only one or two people that have that information and are hiding it, or there is nothing to hide because it would have leaked out. There are just too many. You have people that would just slip and
Mhm.
spill things. And I see that.
Yeah.
It's possible, but it's always nice to have that greater sense of something important out there, that hope for the thing that is hidden, that motivates and inspires us. So
Well, but you're saying Project Blue Book guy
yeah,
did come out and say there are things I cannot explain.
yes. Doesn't mean there's
So,
aliens. It
right.
just means he could not, so again, is something still being hidden? I don't know.
Okay, so who killed JFK, Steve?
I don't know. All I know is that our brains are pattern-seeking machines that also want to find meaning in things. And so given a lot of chaos, the brain will naturally try to find ways to make meaning out of chaos and connect dots in a meaningful way. And that's where many conspiracies come from. Not all of them. I think a lot of them may be grounded in some bits of fact. But as far as this film, Spielberg, later said he's a bit more of a skeptic, again, where's the evidence? Now
Mhm.
everybody has a camera. Everybody has a video camera in their pocket, and we don't have definitive proof of alien encounters. So,
True. True.
of course,
Huh.
he's now big Hollywood. He's an insider. He's the man. So he's
Right?
on the
So
dark side. So
he's on the payroll.
he's
You
got a
can't trust
reason
him.
to spread, misinformation.
Well, this movie was made in 1977, and Richard Dreyfuss was the man of the hour at that
Oh
time.
my
He
gosh,
was starring in everything. And
yes.
I got a little sad that I thought if you made this today, there's no way a Richard Dreyfuss would be cast in the lead of any of these movies. It would be a Chris, whether it's a Pratt or a
Yeah,
Pine or an Evans. You would have to have a hunky Helmsworth.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like that would be playing Roy. And
you need a dad. You need
you
a
need
dad kind of guy. Yeah.
a real a realistic Midwestern looking guy who, we could all relate to, and we have a neighbor just like that. But
Yes.
don't you think today's Hollywood wouldn't cast it this way?
Oh, absolutely wouldn't. And I think that's part of this era of sort of that the new Hollywood of breaking away from the big, Hollywood spectacles where it's all glitz and glamour to like a little bit more gritty realism where people aren't picture perfect and all of that. And I think that's again why I really identified with this as a kid of, yeah, this is the dad next door. I grew up in, north suburbs of Chicago, Midwestern dads. Oh, Indiana was just right there. This is exactly the guy next door. It's not, it's not, some Hollywood star.
Right. And across the board, and this is not, I'm not calling all of these people uggos, but, everyone in this movie looks realistic.
Yes.
And
oh, yeah.
I just feel that in today's world, all the people working for the government would all be, Bob Balaban would not have been played by Glenn
no.
Powell would have played that part. Like it would be out of control with all the studly, attractive young people that
Sure. Chris Pratt and Scarlett Johansson as Roy and Ronnie Neary would not play well. It just does not.
Right.
Fit, right.
Yeah.
You need the, that classic every man, every family, you need those actresses that can be a mom. I don't need to be the Hollywood starlet. I can be just a Midwestern working class mom.
Well, she is stunning.
Yeah.
I've always loved Terry Garr.
Oh, she is
she's
amazing.
Stunning.
Yeah.
But this was a different Terry Garr than I've seen, because I've seen quirky Mel Brooks Terry Garr, and Mr. Mom was one of my favorite movies growing up.
Oh, yes.
To see her so visceral and ugly and angry and naturalistic. Her dialogue is written very well, and she performs it very well.
Oh, yeah. And that's
cool to see.
Again, it's such a great cast across the board. He found just the right people for these that really embodied who these characters are to bring them to life. To the extent that Bob Balaban, when going for this role, asked him if he, could speak French, and he had some in high school, and he said, yeah, I'll be okay. Yeah, I speak French. And then finds out he has to play the translator for Francois Truffaut, who does not speak much English at all, really tested his linguistic skills. But again, the character is, I'm a cartographer. I'm a map maker.
He says, I'm not a translator.
I'm not a translator. So that works so well
Cheat
for that
code.
character.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yes.
I want to know the difference between the cuts, because you said, watch the director's cut.
Right.
What is that not the movie that you saw when you were 7?
So the version I saw when I was 7 was the original theatrical release. Then what happened was 3 years later, he came out with the special edition. And when he was making the original version for Columbia, they were in dire financial straits, and they really pushed him. We need this movie released. We need this movie released. And so there were some additional little bits that he wanted to include that he didn't get to quite editing, a few other things. So a couple of years later, he, the movie saved the studio, all of that. Really would like to touch these things up. And they said, we'll give you the money to finish those things, but you have to show us the inside of the spaceship at the end. So the whole special edition campaign in 1980, that re-release was built around, we get to see what's inside the ship. Spielberg then later, he did not want to do that, but that was the bargaining chip.
Okay.
So the director's cut is he took out the inside of the spaceship. He said, I never should have done that. I never wanted that in there. And some of the changes he made in the special edition and a few other little cuts and things like that. So, for example, in the original, and I think it was probably for pacing reasons, in the original version, we see Roy see the shape in the shaving cream and the mashed potatoes. There is a scene, he and Ronnie are talking, and he just, I don't know, they may be getting one of their tiffs or something, and she throws a pillow at him, and the pillow lands there on the bed, and he sees that shape there. So it's one more time of him seeing the shape.
I don't need
one
that.
thing Yeah, it was little things like that.
Right.
So it was basically Spielberg getting the stuff that he wanted and taking out that interior of the spaceship.
So have you
Yes.
seen the interior of the spaceship? Did you see that version?
Of course, when I was 10 years old, right? 3
Right.
years later, it's like, I gotta go see this movie again.
Yes.
Right? And it's okay. It doesn't I mean, there's no story that really happens. We see Roy, walk in and then it's sort of a look up and it's, huge expanse and you can see little, lit up areas and there's little figures moving behind them, giving the sense of it's this huge, huge city
Right.
basically inside the ship. And
And he
it's nice
shot
movie.
it 3 years
Yeah.
after the fact? Or
Yes. Yeah. 3 years after he
wow.
had to go do that. It was all done with miniatures and,
Yeah.
one long, sort of panning shot across whatever they had built in their, ye old days of
Yeah.
practical effects. Yeah.
I really loved not seeing it and just
No,
letting the imagination run rampant. What
that's
was
that's the strength of the movie is there's so many
right?
things. It's what I love about the limitations, right? Of we can't show
Yes.
certain things. So it just, yeah, we can't do CG aliens running around the house and the kitchen for Barry to see. So we don't show that. We just see his reaction. When we finally get to the aliens, they're so backlit. We just see sort of, shapes, sort of hints of texture, some things like that. We get the one at the end with the hand gestures and
What
all that.
did
So,
you think, 7-year-old Steve, when we actually saw the aliens?
oh, it was just like the most mind-boggling thing. And again, they're not scary aliens. It's like, oh, they're
No,
just like
they're
little kids.
they're
They're
kids.
really-
They
yeah.
seem like kids in costumes.
Yes. Oh,
Is
yeah.
that what they were?
Yes.
Yeah.
They were a bunch of ballet students that had gone through they'd done some training with their teacher and choreographer around certain types of movements and things like that. So they would move in certain ways.
Hmm.
They had tried initially, they had intended to shoot it at a different frame rate so that the aliens moved around very rapidly. So they were going to shoot a lower frame rate so their
Oh.
speed would be moved up. But it just looked weird. I mean, Spielberg said they tried a lot of different ways to shoot that and it just none of them were working. And so they just went with, okay, we're going to do this. And so you'll see there's a lot of cutting around that. We don't get long lingering shots
No.
on the aliens. I mean, it's where we get, interesting things. And I'm sure it's probably not the first time it's ever done. But again, as a young kid, it's something that I thought was interesting of when Melinda Dillon, gets her camera out and just starts taking pictures, then we're getting that, camera shutter click and we get a shot of the aliens and then click and then another shot from a different angle, different location of just giving the sense of like quick snapshots of everything
Mhm.
going around that for me worked as a kid. Like, oh, that's such an interesting thing of how to show sort of her experience of that
Mhm.
through these, series of snapshots, but also denying me that ability to just like, oh, I want to focus on those aliens and see everything about them. He
Yeah.
keeps it hidden.
I have to say, it is so nice to hear how much this lights you up. My experience with you has been on podcasts where we're talking about current movies that aren't always our favorites, right? I mean, that's just the
We have
nature
a
of
record
it.
of picking horrible movies. So when you said, here's some things I haven't talked about, and I saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind in
Right.
there. This is one of it's in my top 5 films of all
And
time. It always stays
I
there.
feel
It's
it. I
always
feel
there.
it in your
Yeah.
voice. I can see it in your face. You can't see me, but hey, that's okay.
Yeah.
But I love that it has this effect. Jer walked down the stairs and he was like, "Oh, you're watching Close Encounters," and it was like, yeah. And I know that I'm the Nimrod who hasn't seen it, but I love that it has that magic. And Spielberg is one of the very few filmmakers who holds those places in our hearts, I think, from our childhood.
yeah.
With this and E.T. and Jaws and so many things. It's
So many things. Yeah, I got to see this for its 40th anniversary back in 2017. It was re-released in theaters. It was the director's cut version, and to see it in the theater again was
Mhm.
I was a kid again.
Mm.
The score, the music, just the big screen experience was just one of those like moments of just pure joy to re-experience that way.
I'm so glad you got to do that.
Yeah.
There are very few movies that I need to go see in a theater from my childhood, and they haven't As far as I know, they're not coming out. I know
Yeah.
the Disney ones used to come out every 7 years. They don't do that anymore, though, right?
No, that's
Um,
no, they're all streaming, and that's another
yeah,
thing that's been lost. I mean, that's why Roy's so excited about Pinocchio. He had seen it as a kid, and that was when Disney was on those. They would only come out in the theaters every so often, so it was an
yep,
opportunity for him to do that. Something else that has been lost, that rediscovery of a thing. Let the memory last instead of
hmm
watching it every week, on Netflix or something.
right.
Yeah.
Unless it's Grease 2, in which
Oh,
case I need to watch that every week, and you
okay.
can't make me stop.
And I wouldn't try to.
Well, I know this was not as deep of a dive as this movie perhaps deserves, because it is a really powerful, beautiful, effective movie. Did I miss something major that you want to talk about? I don't want to deprive you.
No, I think we hit on the key things, and it's again just like the aliens. I don't want to, dig too deeply into things. I think the other piece really is, just the iconic 5-note sequence is, that musical
Yes.
piece is such a key thing to this film. That's the other memorable thing that I
Yes.
think endures in John Williams' score is that moment, and it's those things, and to let people attach, their own, meaning to this, or just their own joy to this. And I don't want to this is a film I don't want to dissect to see, all of the things or overanalyze, because it is such a thing of joy. And I just hope that people will sit down and be willing to approach this not as a traditional sci-fi film with, bad government and the aliens and, takeovers or whatever, but because it is really about, this family, that piece. And it's, again, not just a good guys versus bad guys traditional story arc. It's really this interesting piece. Okay, one thing I do have to talk about. This is the thing that I think really set it for me
Yeah.
when I was watching it the first time as a kid. The scene with the air traffic controllers.
hmm
As a kid, I felt like I was in that space because it was another
hmm
time where it's like there's dialogue, they're talking over each other, there's things being said in the background that are all meaningful and relevant. And none of these characters are part of the story. We're just getting this scene, we're getting information. None of these pilots are the main characters. We're just getting there was an aircraft, 2 airplanes flying, and they saw something. Why is that important to our story? I mean, it may be that's that they're in the area, all of those things, but for to spend that amount of time on it, I don't think you would get that in a film today. It would then follow one of the air traffic controllers or something like that,
Right.
or one of the
And
aliens. Those
and
types
Lloyd
of
Bridges would be sniffing glue.
sniffing glue, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and that was the thing that we get the desert, we get the air traffic controllers, and then we finally get to Roy, and it's probably like 15 minutes in. It feels like we don't start with our hero
Right.
right away, and I think that's the other piece is it's really like a collage or a mosaic of these things that you piece together yourself. And multiple stories just sort of interweaving themselves, and for me, that's the way to experience this is to just watch the story unfold.
You said something so interesting about the joy of this movie, but this movie is actually not joyful. This family
Happy end.
falls apart. This
Yes.
kid is kidnapped. The government might be lying to us and hiding things from us, right? But but you somehow walk away with the pure joy and awe of seeing aliens.
There's
But
a trick to that.
most of the movie is
Yeah.
really upsetting. I
So
mean, to some degree.
so I don't know if you caught it. So Roy mentions Pinocchio,
Mhm,
early on, and
mhm,
there's a scene when near the very end when Roy is in his, red, jumpsuit thing or whatever,
mhm.
and he gets approached by the aliens. If you're listening in the score, I don't know the exact moment, it's somewhere around there. John Williams has woven in a little bit of the melody from the song "When You Wish Upon a Star"
I did
from
hear it,
Pinocchio.
and I thought
Yeah,
I was just, I thought it was like, "No, no, 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 that can't
no,
be, because that
it's
would be."
it's
Yeah, I
it's
did
there.
hear it,
It's
and I heard
tapping in.
Jaws.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Jaws in there too. But it's that Pinocchio, it's that childhood, it's that innocence, and I think it's those things. Because I agree, Roy's a horrible person. His family completely falls apart. There's all these conspiracies, but somehow Spielberg is able to overcome all of those things that Roy walks into that ship, and you just are left with this I don't know, sense of, I don't know, things are going to be okay. He's getting what he wants.
Yeah.
Barry's with his mom. Everything's going to be okay. Despite how messed up everything is, I don't have a sense of anxiety or anything like that. I just have the sense of joy. And yeah, that's the only thing I can use to describe it.
Boy, could we use that now.
Yes, we could.
Thank you for nerdicating me about this movie. It's been a long time coming that I see this movie, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure revisiting this with you.
Oh, good. Well, before I go, I have to tell everybody that Make Me a Nerd is a production of TruStory FM, engineering by the peerless Pete Wright. My theme song is Wonderstruck by Jane and the Boy. Please hit me up on Instagram at Mandy_Kaplan_Clavens, both with K's, or on TikTok at Mandy Miscast. And you can leave reviews and comments on Apple. That helps the podcast grow. And if you're feeling extra supportive, please go to makemeanerd.com/join. And joining the club will get you your episodes ad-free and early. Thank you all for listening. And thank you, Steve, for introducing me to this magical movie.
Thank you.